So I'm okay. Thanks, Mark. All righty, I'm excited to have Jeff here today to join our crew. So a few years ago, Jeff spoke at our Advanced Benefits Business Annual Business Leadership Summit, and he knocked it out of the park. I mean, those that attended were engaged and left just kind of in awe. Jeff is part of Professionals at Play, and he's going to share some pro tips on how to foster and cultivate a culture where we can be productive and have fun while we're doing the things that are productive. And like I shared in my email, you guys do a lot of heavy and tough stuff, and so I thought this would be a great way to start at the year is to focus on culture and how do we bring fun into what we do. So Jeff, we want to start out with, we need to hear your answer for the question. So tell us your soup, and then you've got the mic, my friend.
All right, awesome. Well, I was trying to think of soups, and there's a lot of soups that I like. I'm more of a stew guy myself. As a matter of fact, I've got a rosemary beef stew going right now in the crock pot. So like slow cooked over 10 to 12 hours. And at night, it just falls apart. It's so delicious. And then I would say for a restaurant here, what's the Vietnamese restaurant off of 4th Street and the freeway? They have a chicken noodle soup. Anytime I feel bad, I get the chicken noodle soup there, and I take the chicken out and just throw in some jalapenos, and it just clears everything right up. And it's just delicious and wonderful. So I get that for anybody who's sick. Plus, for $10, it's like 3 servings. It's awesome. So I am Jeff Geoff McLaughlin. It's nice to see some faces on here that I recognize. Some of you, we've been friends for almost 20, actually getting close to 20 years now. It's kind of crazy. And so I own Professionals at Play. I'm the CEO and executive. I don't know, executive director is not the right term. I don't know. I guess I'm the company guy, and it's just me and myself. And occasionally my wife and my kids help me out. So I can say that my team doesn't listen to me very well, and it's very infuriating. But with that being said, I'm lucky enough to be here today to get to talk to you guys a little bit about what I do and kind of how it applies to what you guys do. So I thought I'd really start with a quick little story. I'm going to give you the very truncated version of what is usually a much longer story. So because I worked in education, I was as a school teacher, I was a kindergarten teacher. I got pulled out of education to become a professional speaker, and I got to travel all over the country. Currently, I'm up to working with almost 2 million people across the United States, from kindergartners to high-level CEOs and anywhere in between. And so I love what I get to do, but I get to see interesting things. And I went to a school once in Central California in a pretty rough area, and I was working with freshmen, and this whole thing was a 3-day event where I worked with 600 freshmen, and it was pretty challenging, tough group of kids. But there was one kid that stood out, and his name was DJ Cornbread. Now I know it's a current kind of silly name. That wasn't his actual given name. His real name was Timothy, but everybody called him DJ Cornbread. And out of all these 600 kids, he was the one that stood out above everybody else, partially because he was tall, but partially because of his attitude and how he interacted with people. He was one of those naturally, he was people driven, obviously, and he didn't have a single group of friends. He was friends with everyone. And so you could literally watch him go around to the different cliques, because you could easily tell which cliques were in the school, because it was a big issue there. And he would walk over to like the jocks, and all of a sudden they'd start high-fiving each other and laughing and having a good time. And then he'd say goodbye. And then he'd go over to the band kids and he'd hang out with them. And then he'd go over to the skaters, and then he'd go over to the goths. Anytime he went to some group of people, they automatically smiled and started interacting in a positive manner. And I thought, this is a really cool skill. And I was like, this kid's impressive. So I go back to the school the next year, not expecting to, but I ended up going back to the school the next year again to work with freshmen. And I see him in the parking lot. He screams in excitement. I scream. I'm like, DJ Cornbread. And he's like, how did you remember my name? And I'm like, dude, I have not met a lot of DJ Cornbreads in the world. You're kind of the only one. And so I see him, and he's like, can I be a part of the day again? Can I please be a part of what we did with those freshmen? Because it was absolutely incredible. I loved it. It was just awesome. And I just want to do it. And I said, I'm sorry, but we only work with juniors and seniors as leaders, and then freshmen is the people that are being served. So the sophomores are kind of get left out. And he's like, dude, I will do anything. I just want to be a part of it. And I said, okay, cool. Turns out he was really good with music. Thus the DJ Cornbread. And so anytime he played music, kids got up and danced, which I don't know if you're familiar, if you have any high schooler kids or you work with that age group at all, but to get high school kids to dance sometimes is as easy as putting on a simple song or a TikTok meme or whatever, and they'll dance and be goofy and silly. But at the time that he was there, it was a tough job. And anytime he played music, people danced, which I was like, again, super cool skill. I see him again as a junior, he's a leader, and again as a senior, he's a leader. By the time he was a senior, he was about 6'5", 6'6", about 240 pounds and totally jacked. And I'm like, dude, I bet your football coach loves you. And he's like, I don't play football. I'm like, why not? You're like the entire front line, dude. And he's like, I don't like to hit people. I'm like, seriously, just this big, giant teddy bear of a human being, and just absolutely wonderful. And so I leave the school. As I'm getting ready to leave, I pull him to the side because he's a senior, and I've got to see him for 4 years. I literally got to watch this guy grow up into this amazing young man, this incredible human being. And I pulled him to the side as I was leaving, and I said, you know, I have to say thank you so very much that, number one, you are who you are. And two, that I don't think this program would have been successful without you. If we wouldn't have had DJ Cornbread, I don't know if we could have done the things that we did at that school, because he was such an integral part of the success of this program. And he really, truly got the ball rolling. And he helped push that program and make it a part of their culture. And I was like, this is so cool. Now I get called back to come back to the school again the next year. And I'm training my leaders, and I'm really, honestly, I'm kind of worried because I don't have DJ Cornbread, and it's still a pretty tough clientele. I mean, they've made some positive growth, but a tough clientele. And I'm sitting there training my leaders, and I've got 6 boys in my front row, all juniors and seniors. I don't know exactly what grade level they are, but I can tell that they're really good friends. And that worries me sometimes when I have leaders, because then they have their own little friend jokes, and they sometimes exclude other people for their friends, right? And even as leaders, they sometimes do that. And so I'm kind of like, oh, this is going to be, I'm going to have to watch those boys. And all of a sudden, as I'm doing the training, I look over to my left, and the double doors of the gym just open up. And who walks in? DJ Cornbread. DJ Cornbread walks in. I scream like a little girl. I'm so excited. I run over, I give him a great big hug, and I'm like, what are you doing here? Because let's be honest, as soon as you graduated from high school, your inclination was not to go directly back, right? You wanted to get away. And so I'm like, seriously, what is going on? And he goes, well, a couple things. Number one, my little brother's a freshman this year, and I want him to have the same experiences that I did in high school. I want him to grow. I want him to have an awesome time. And I want him to just be a good person. And I want high school to be an awesome experience for him. And I thought, like, oh, such a great kid that he wants his little brother to be successful. That's really cool. And he goes, and those dudes right over there, and he points to my 6 boys in the front row. He goes, those dudes right there, those are my best friends in the whole wide world. I love those guys. I will do absolutely anything for them. I want to support them and make sure they're successful today too. And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, you know what to do. Let's do this. And so we get ready. And just before we bring kids into the gym, DJ Cornbread and his 6 friends run out to the center of the basketball court, huddle up, arms around each other, heads in towards the center. There's like, if you looked at a picture of it down, you just see a little ring of heads, right? And they start talking and giggling, and then they're laughing. And all at the same time, they stop what they're doing, and they just go like this. And they point to each other. And I'm like, okay, what is this? That doesn't make any sense. Oh, well, whatever, no big deal. And I'm like, okay, so we start our day, and then I start to see it. Like, there's chaos. There's people on the floor, people on the bleachers, all over the place. There's loud music playing, stuff is happening. And every time those boys make eye contact with each other, they do that to each other. One would see each other in the bleachers, and they go, boom. And from the bleachers, they get, yeah. And I kept seeing it over and over again. I'm like, what the heck is this thing? And then at lunchtime, things got really weird. At lunchtime, all of a sudden, each of those boys grabbed a group of like 10 or 12 people, 10 or 12 little freshmen. They run them out to the basketball court. They huddle up in these tight little huddles, and the leader starts talking. And all the freshmen are just absolutely engaged with the story. And he starts talking, the leaders are talking, and then they're like, the freshmen are like, uh-huh. And then they start giggling, and then they start laughing. And then the leader goes, and every single freshman goes. And immediately in my mind, I'm like, oh no, this is bad. Something this is not good. I get on the microphone. I'm like, DJ Cornbread, please meet Sasquatch at center court. The kids call me Sasquatch. And so all of a sudden we run out to center court. And as the kids are leaving, I'm like, dude, what is this? Are you in a gang? I was legit worried that he was in a gang and he was actually recruiting. And I'm like, this is bad. I'm never going to be able to work again. This is terrible. Like, kids are going to get in trouble. And he goes, no. And he starts laughing. He goes, dude, chill out. It's okay. Check this out. And he pulls out a cell phone and he pulls up a YouTube video. And it's him and those 6 friends. And they're in like a 1984 Honda Civic or Honda Accord, tiny little car, right? Made for 4 tiny Asian people. And there are 7 grown young men in this car, clown style, right? You can't tell where one begins and another one ends. They're just all like smushed up in there. And they're at the drive-thru at McDonald's. And all of a sudden they order a single ice cream cone. And I'm like looking at DJ Cornbread like, dude, I'm so sorry, but 7 dudes in 1 ice cream cone, nothing good can happen. And he goes, don't worry, it gets better. And all of a sudden they're driving through, they get up to the window, he gives the guy the $1, he gets his ice cream cone, and the driver, this young kid, looks up at the McDonald's guy and goes, excuse me, sir, but do you believe in unicorns? And the McDonald's guy goes, what? I said, do you believe in unicorns? And the McDonald's guy looks at him and goes, no. And he goes, wrong answer. Believe. And then drives off with an ice cream cone stuck to his forehead. Now, I, as an adult, a grown man, am thinking, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen, right? How silly, how stupid, how ridiculous do you have to be if you're running around smushing ice cream cones on your face, right? And I look over and DJ Cornbread is shaking with laughter. He has a tear streaming down his face, right? Because he's laughing so hard. And I go, oh, I get it. It was one of those moments where like you kind of had to be there, right? And he goes, the video stops and he just keeps laughing. I said, what else happened? And he goes, oh, it just kept going, man. We pull out into traffic. He's got the ice cream cone on his forehead. He looks over, there's a car full of hot chicks next to us. And he's like, hey, I'm like, how'd that work out? He goes, they almost ran a red light. It was bad. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is terrible, right? And so he goes, it just kept going. And eventually it's melting down his face and we're just dying. The guy in the backseat, he actually pointed at one of his friends, one of my leaders who was a junior or senior in high school. And he goes, that dude was laughing so hard, he actually peed his pants in the back of the car. And I was like, oh my gosh, it was traditional gut busting, knee slapping, pee your pants laughter moments. And he goes, it was that moment that actually took us from being friends to being like, dude, we are brothers and we will do absolutely anything for each other. And he goes, we had enough of those moments that that was the catalyst. That was the thing that pushed us over the edge. And he goes, it was really simple. This right here, this is our sign. And it simply means you're my unicorn. You are my unicorn and I will do anything to help you out and take care of you. And I thought, oh my gosh, that is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And it completely changed my point of view and my perspective on things. And as I was sitting there, I was like, that's really awesome. And then I thought about it and I went, wait a minute. These boys could have kept this entire thing for themselves, right? They could have kept this secret little like this, and people would have gone, what does that mean? They could have gone, you'll never know. But they didn't. What they did was that they shared it with a group of people. They shared it with all of these freshmen at honestly, a really tough school. And it changed. By the end of the afternoon, after we'd done all these challenging things, all these freshmen are running around like, I believe in you and I believe in you. And kids are giving each other hugs. And honestly, there were kids, these tough boys that were crying because for some of them, it was the first time somebody ever said, I believe in you. And it was absolutely magical. And to this day, I mean, this was like 15 years ago at this school. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go to that same school at the end of the month, January 25th. 25th, 26th, and 27th, I will be presenting at this same school for like, I think 16, 17 years in a row, minus the 2 years for COVID. And it's so funny because that day at that school, it completely changed things. I showed up consecutively year after year. I would walk on campus and kids would just be like, hey, Sasquatch, what's up? It stayed at that school all the way up until COVID. This is the first time I get to go back. So I don't know if it'll stay there this year because we had the 2 years off for COVID. So it's going to be an interesting thing to see, but it totally changed the way that campus felt. And for a lot of people, if you think about for us, for you guys, the people that you're working with, if all of a sudden you are the one that believes in them, if all of a sudden we are the ones that start to say, wait a minute, I believe in you. I see greatness and I know that you can do this. And it can change somebody's life completely because for a lot of people, they don't have that belief in themselves, right? Would you guys agree that sometimes it's really challenging to work somebody because they get stuck in that victim mentality, or that sometimes they get stuck in that negative self-talk? As human beings, we are pre-programmed for negativity. We cannot help it. This comes from our times when we were, hunter-gatherer, small tribes of people. And if You know, if all of a sudden Chris comes back and he's got a bunch of like vegetables, right? A bunch of fruit. He's got all these berries, all these huckleberries that he found. He shows up and everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, you found huckleberries. That's awesome." And then he's going to be excited, right? Because he helped the team. He gets this burst of serotonin, right? Gets this big burst of serotonin because he helped everybody to have food. And now here's the thing is that everybody's going to go, "Wait, where did you get them? Where were they? How did you find them? How far out did you go? Were there bears?" Because that's what we're going to worry about. We're going to worry about the things that are immediately going to kill us. And somebody's going to go, "Wait a minute, I was there last week and there was a bear, so I didn't go any further because I didn't want to get eaten." And so we worry about the things that are most, for us, the most dangerous, the bear versus the food. If you had a berries and a bear in a room at the same time, which one would you be more concerned about? Obviously, it's the bear, right? Because you're like, "I don't want to get eaten. I really like berries. Huckleberries are awesome, but not as much as getting eaten by a bear." Okay. So we are pre-programmed for negativity. So here's what's going to happen is Chris is going to go, "Yeah, I got these berries, but," and that "but" in his mind is going to automatically turn to something negative. "But if I would have stayed out longer, I could have gotten more. If I would have brought somebody else, we could have had more. If I went at a different time, would there be more berries? If I went at the wrong time, there could have been a bear and I could have gotten eaten." See, we're going to automatically turn to a negative. So the important part is this, is that we have to have these people in our lives. We have to have people that believe in us, that help us out, that have shared moments with us, because those are the people that are going to pull us out of that negativity and see the greatness in us. If we, as community members who are trying to make our community better, safer, stronger, and more resilient, we have to, one, have people on our team that are helping us to realize our own greatness. Because as soon as we realize our power to see how strong and truly great we are as individuals, that's when all of a sudden we start to act and help others to see the same thing. But if somebody truly doesn't believe in themselves, which is a lot of people, if they don't believe in themselves, they don't believe in the power to make a difference in their own lives, they're not going to make a difference in somebody else's lives. So how do we do that? Well, number one is very simple. It's how human beings are automatically pre-programmed, and that is play. If we play with people, if we play, think about the times when you guys, I was lucky enough to grow up here in the late 1970s and early 80s. And I had opportunities because I got to play on literal playgrounds that were not like the ones that we have now, right? We got to play on the dangerous playgrounds. We got to play on the ones where, we had the 60-degree down angle, slide that's made out of sheet metal, and ours had a lift at the end. So you learned all about physics, right? We had that one. We had the merry-go-round. Sorry, my cat all of a sudden just joined us. She's like, "Hi, I just want to be a part of things." She's always that way. We had the merry-go-round of doom, right? I was the big kid, so I got to push people on it. My whole job was to see how many people I could fling off the merry-go-round and develop resilience by flying and, busted the knees and skinned up lips and that kind of stuff. I mean, you just had all this fun. But when we played together, we learned all these skills, right? We learned the skills of life. We learned how to negotiate. We learned how to put together a team. We learned how to argue. Sometimes we even learned how to fight. And you learn that if somebody, got knocked down, the fight was over. You won, you helped the person up, you got to play your game, and then you continued with your day. Really, truly, the only rule was don't go get an adult, because if you go get an adult, now the fun is over. Now somebody has to come in and solve your problems for you. And a big part of what I've seen over the last 20 years with young people and with people who are now, I started 20 years ago. Now those people are, almost in their, 40s, if you think about it. Some of them were 18 years old when I started working with them. And so, Kat, I'm gonna put you down over here. You're driving me crazy. The thing is this, is that as play has changed, as things have gotten safer, as we've had this, I don't know, I'll say culture of safety, it is, it has really handicapped people from actually being able to be more resilient. Because if all of a sudden if you never have anything, if you never have any problems, if you never have any childhood trauma that you have to make it through on your own, then all of a sudden when something happens to you, it becomes devastating. Versus if, okay, I remember riding my bike as a kid and getting way, way, way away from my house, and all of a sudden getting a flat tire and thinking, wait a minute, I don't have a phone, because they didn't have cell phones back then, because I'm that old. I don't have any of my friends around me. I have to make it home on my own. What do I do? Do I hike the bike up over my shoulder and start walking? Do I walk it with a flat tire? Do I start hitchhiking and try and get somebody to throw the bike in the back of the truck? we had to solve our problems. And so that is a big thing. So here's one thing, is that play. If you play with the people that you work with, a sense of playfulness will work as well. It doesn't matter. You don't have to play like a game. You don't have to play like, let's go out and play gin rummy. That'll be great. That's not what I mean. I mean, being able to actually play and laugh and have fun and experiences, to be able to have a sense of playfulness. To laugh is to ignite people's passions and to really help others to realize that, yeah, at that moment, things are going to be okay. I don't care how bad things are in somebody's life. If all of a sudden they can have the ability to share laughter with each other, it's a sense of belonging. It creates a sense of community. And that if we know we belong, we know intrinsically that given enough time, things are going to be okay. In the moment, it might be really challenging. And truthfully, a lot of the people that we're working with, if they're living paycheck to paycheck, there is a high level of stress almost all the time. How do I get by? What am I going to do? How do I make the bills this month? How do I put food on the table? Are they going to turn my heater electricity off? I don't understand. Something happened. Now the toilet's clogged and I can't fix it. I don't know what to do. And so there's this huge level of stress. And honestly, I've been there. I remember the first year I was a professional speaker, I had 16 different jobs to pay the bills. 16 different jobs just so I could make sure the house was, had heat, we had food on the table. And it was challenging and there was a lot of stress with that. But at the same time, I was young enough and I had a support group of people that I knew if I had to fall back, if I was really going to fail and something was really going to go wrong, that I actually had the ability to say, I need help. And because we'd shared moments together, play, laughter, joy, happiness, that if I truly needed their help, they would be there for me. Just like when I had excess, I would truly be there for them. And again, that starts to create community. And so that's one. Number one is play, joy, and laughter. Number two is truly asking good questions. A lot of the time when we as human beings, because again, we're pre-programmed for negativity, we'll say to somebody, hey, how's it going? And what's the usual answer? Fine. And then we walk on and part ways, right? We do that because we don't have the energy to actually dig deeper to find out what's happening in somebody's life. If we, as members of the community who are trying to make a really big difference, can help people to analyze and look at what the things that are going well in their lives are, it's a big one. It is a big one. Hey, thank you, Michaela. Have a good one. Be safe. So the big thing is this: instead of asking, hey, how are you doing? What if you said, hey, what's something good that's happened in the last week? And all of a sudden they have to start thinking, wait a minute, good. So one, my question is positive. Two, it's in reference to the past. So they actually are thinking about things that have happened in their life that are good. And if somebody says, nothing happened. Okay, well, what was the least bad thing? Now all of a sudden they've changed it and they're going to go, okay, now they have to analyze and rank things in their brain. And what we're doing is we can actually start to program somebody's brain to think more in the positive. If somebody's like, nothing went well, okay, what absolutely sucked the least? Again, they're ranking. If you want to make it a big difference, if they got something that went, oh, this went good, this went good, and this went good, awesome. What was the best thing that happened this week? All of a sudden, now they're starting, and you get to sense of value for them. What do they truly value? What is important to them? Because the most important thing or the best thing that happened this week is oftentimes going to be something that is high value to them. And we can start to help people to see the positives. We can start that whole gratitude aspect of things. We can help people to see the good things that are happening in their lives and not to only focus on the bad. Now, I know it seems simple, but if we can keep our questions in the past and positive in a specific time frame, it actually really truly does help people subconsciously start to think about the positive and good things that are happening in our lives. And I know it's really weird and it sounds crazy, but if you've ever traveled to a third world country, that we truly don't realize how incredibly lucky we are to live where we do in the time that we live in. And even those people that live in poverty have so much to be grateful for. And so if we're going to help people, if we're going to truly help our community, we got to have these people that believe in us, play, have joy and laughter and fun, and then ask positive questions, positive based questions, specifically with positive past experiences, so that you can actually get to know your people better. So if you guys have any questions, comments, or rude remarks, anything like that, I take all of those. And also, I wanted to give you guys, I'm actually in the chat. I'm going to put my cell phone number down. And if you have any questions, or if you just want to text me and be like, hey, I got this client, here's a question, you can actually, text me, tell me who you are and where we met. And I am more than happy to answer questions and start conversations that way. So I will put my number in there right now. I can't talk and type at the same time because that will be too hard. There you go, it's there. So thank you guys so much. If you guys have any questions, just shout them out. I'd be more than happy to answer any of them.
Questions for Jeff? Speechless, Jeff. You left them speechless.
It's my special gift.
Jeff, have you ever worked with a better group than mine?
Absolutely not. I have worked with Vicky's team a couple of times. They are spectacular. Okay, this is, I actually did, I don't know if you saw this, Vicky, but I bragged about your team the other day.
Oh,
I saw, yeah, somebody, yeah, Dr. Sam posted on LinkedIn, and I said that working with your team is always an absolute joy because they're so much fun. They're so engaged with each other, and you can tell how much they care about each other. It's just, you have a great team, and that goes to show, all about leadership and how you've cultivated that culture. You have fun together, you can tell, and you play together, and you guys genuinely do care about each other. And then look at all of a sudden, you guys are doing like the best things at NIC. You guys are always in the top, like for positivity. So I just got to say, yeah, very few teams that are better than yours.
I didn't bring that up to give a plug for us. I really brought that up as a way to give a plug for Jeff. If you guys are looking for someone to help you with team building or to come just, work with your team for a few hours or a day of, of just having fun and forgetting about everything else that's going on around, then he's your guy. So just giving him a shout out here.
Thank you, Vicky.
Jeff, I have a question for you. And thank you for your stories. I want to be one of those unicorns now in the community. But what I want to know is my kiddo goes to Coeur d'Alene High School, and I would love for the energy and enthusiasm and positivity that you just projected to happen at her school. And I'm wondering, how can, I don't know, I nudge someone or help someone or give them the information that you just gave to create some sort of environment there at the school?
Well, I know that they have the Coeur d'Alene High School. So my son will be a freshman at Coeur d'Alene next year, and I will be more active in that community. I've been working a lot at his middle school and trying to change things there. Well, not change things, but to improve culture. And we have great schools. We have phenomenal teachers. It is really challenging, honestly, because of what I do. A lot of the times, everybody equates social emotional learning with critical race theory, which it's absolutely not. Social emotional learning it's what you learned in kindergarten, people. That is literally the epitome of social emotional learning. How do we share? How do we take care of each other? How do we laugh, play, get along? That is all it is. It doesn't matter. If you look at a playground and kids, they will always play with each other because they just want to have fun. And I truly believe that as human beings, we're pretty much hardwired that way. We then start to get in our own way. So I would absolutely love to do stuff at the schools. I have programs that I've created that I think one of the home-based school system, I think, used one of my programs last year or the year before, or maybe it was through COVID. But yeah, if you get my number, you can talk to me, and I'd be more than happy to reach out to the principal, the vice principal, the counselors, whoever it is, because any spoke in a wheel makes it stronger, right? I believe that they have a freshman orientation program. I think that they have, I think that they work with, I want to say that Greg Summers does a program there for them, and he's awesome. He's one of my dear friends. He's a great person. And then I want to say that they have a leadership program. They have all the clubs and stuff like that. But generally, when they bring a school speaker in, they'll hire from outside of the area. So a lot of the schools here don't even know that I'm here. I do 99% of my work is around the country. And so it's not usually local. And so it's kind of crazy. Usually as a speaker, you don't work in your own backyard, but I would love to work here, and I would love to work with the high schoolers, because high schoolers are kicking the pants. And they need to know that there are people in the community that believe in them, because that's huge. Yeah. So I'd be more than happy to jump on a call with you, and we could try and figure out because I don't even know who we need to talk to for stuff like that.
Okay, sounds great. I would really love that. I'll put my number. I have your number, but I'll put mine in the chat as well. Thank you.
Perfect. Awesome.
So, question for the group. I'd be curious if anybody has any examples of how you foster, promote, or cultivate fun in your organization, your agency. Any examples, anything that anybody wants to share? I know we have some very creative people in this crew, and I'd love to hear anything that anyone's doing that you're proud of. Come on, somebody's got something.
I'll just keep talking for a second. So I just half of my board just left, and I have half of a new board, and so my intent is to get them together for a golfing outing, happy hour, a hike, and things like that, at least once a quarter, to bring us together just as humans, to interact on a fundamental level of getting to know each other a little bit better than the 1 hour a month you spend. So that's what I hope to do, and I put some things in process for that. So
Awesome. Thanks for the share. How about one more share?
I'll share.
Thank you.
It's just me and my department. So I just talk to myself a lot and treat myself to Starbucks sometimes. But for coworkers who are just in my area, I always just try to have a positive attitude, even when things are stressful, and to talk about all the good things that are happening, because I think what you said was correct about how people tend to go to the negative and we kind of forget about all the good things. And I've noticed for myself, when I keep the good stuff at the forefront, then life is a lot better. So I try to share that with others around me.
Awesome.
Nice.
Thanks, Louisa. That's great. All right, Jeff, feel free to hang out with us. We've got another 15 minutes here. We're going to do a virtual roundtable. If you got to go, we understand. We appreciate your time. Thank you again. Again, like Vicky said, if anybody is just looking for some team building or something for their organization or agency, connect with Jeff. He's full of ideas and thoughts and yeah. So Jeff, thank you again.
Thank you very much. I'm just going to grab Greta's number off the phone off here, and then I'm actually in the process of doing fun stuff right now. I'm actually building an office in my backyard, and so I'm in the sanding and mudding and taping. So I will look like Santa Claus, but with like fairy dust powder all over me in like the next 20 minutes.
I was going to ask you, is it in a tree?
I wish. I took the tree house down to put this one up. Yes.
Awesome.
So awesome. Thank you very much, Chris. You guys have a great one. Thanks, you. Jeff. And you guys work hard, play fair, be kind.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So let's switch gears here. Love to do our virtual roundtable. So again, we're looking for any new resources that either your agency has put together, or maybe some things that you've heard in the community that are not now available, that maybe others would be good to know. What are you struggling with? What challenges do you have? Let's throw those out to this crew. And of course, we love to hear wins. So what's something that's gone well over November, December, January? So any of those, and no formal order here. So who would like to kick it off?
I'll go. Go ahead, Vicky.
We'll go Vicky and then Greta.
I was gonna be quiet this month because we don't have anything necessarily new, but when you said, what are you struggling with? So I just want to remind the community that NIC is currently fully accredited. We truly hope to stay that way, and we would really like you to, reach out and look at our FAQ page on accreditation at nic.edu if you do have any questions at any time, or you're always welcome to contact me. But we just want to make sure that message gets out there and continues to get out there. Lots of noise, of course, in the newspapers, and lots of concerns, internally and externally. So just wanted to, I guess, make that statement and remind you that you do have friends here that can answer any questions. So don't hesitate to give me a call if anything comes up that you're wondering, is that true? Is that not true? Or what does this mean? So thank you.
Great share. Thank you, Vicki. Greta.
Thanks, Vicki. Yay, NIC. Let's keep it that way. So my organization has gone through some transition. We just did a strategic planning session with Luke Malik that was fantastic. And so we've changed our name to Connect Kootenai because that's what we do. And so we exist to connect Kootenai to create a better tomorrow. And so that the residents of Kootenai County can thrive, belong, and make a positive impact. So that's our mission and vision. And through that, I have also taken over the RHGIP, or the local worker housing, that Kiki Miller has been working on for the last couple of years. So Kiki will stand by me for the next few months, but then I'll be taking it on solo with my board and trying to make an impact in the community. So if anyone wants to talk about that particular housing and how we're going to move forward as a community to support our local workers and make sure that they can live where they work and all of those things, let me know. I'd love to meet with you. Again, my name, number, and email is in the chat. But to that end, I do appreciate all of you that have been working on that and want to collaborate and communicate and move things forward and keep our community culture the way that it is. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Greta. Who's next?
I have a question actually for everyone in the group. I recently was connected with a single mom in the community. She has her master's degree and has a really good job pay-wise, but she's barely surviving because of just how expensive rent is. And so she definitely fits in the Alice population, and she's needing a lot of support right now, but the programs she's tried to apply for, she doesn't qualify for due to her income. So I don't want to have a conversation and take time up right now, but if anyone has any ideas for me on how to direct her, she needs help. Even like she said her oil change, she hasn't gotten an oil change in a year or something ridiculous because she just can't budget it in. So any ideas of resources where I could direct her would be very awesome, because I'm just not totally sure. She's in a tough spot. So email me if you have any ideas. I can put my email in the chat. Thank you.
Thanks, Louisa. Who's next?
I'll go.
Donna?
So what I give an update on NAMI. NAMI is going to start having NAMI nights out, probably February 24th. We're trying to connect with Jeanette to get a location. We'd like to do this at HREI, but I'm not sure. Stay tuned on that. But they're going to be social evenings where people with mental health challenges can go and be in a non-judgmental environment where everybody understands them and you know, kind of feel safe and not be stigmatized. And we'll probably do the first one. We're looking at doing like Silver Linings Playbook and popcorn, just simple things like that. And then, you know, maybe board games and pizza or but those will be like probably 7 to 9 on the last Friday of the month, a location to be determined. And then also I wanted to put out there for anybody that needs it, NAMI is doing family support, friends and family support groups virtually. And that is for anybody that his life is impacted by someone in their family or their friend group that has a mental health diagnosis. Because it's really tough to be in that position where you're a friend or you love someone that suffers with, you know, because mental health is like anything else. It has good days, it has bad days, and you know, there are relapses, and it's challenging sometimes to just carry on as in that role. There are also peer connection groups twice a month for people that have mental health diagnoses led by peers. And those are virtual as well. And the links to all these groups are on the NAMI.org website. And just an update on Project HomeShare. Carrie Ward is the new ED, and she is at the point where she is actually doing public presentations. She did like her first one the other day for the Housing Subcommittee of the Region 1 Behavioral Health Board. We're looking at hopefully having the database live and having the ability for people to sign up if they're looking for housing and for people that would like to offer housing. And we also have a website, it's homesharekc.org. and stay tuned on that website for applications and things. If someone is, it's kind of like it's not roommate sharing, but it kind of works the same way. You sign up and say, this is what I would like. And there's a questionnaire you fill out in terms of like smoker, pets, children, what bedtime, all of those different things. And then the landlord who's offering a room in their house in exchange for lowered rent and maybe like the sidewalk shoveled or grocery shopping, those kind of things. And they do the same thing, like, no, I absolutely would not consider someone who has a pet, and I want someone that's between, 15 and 30 or whatever. So that's going live too. And that is an offshoot of the group that Greta's group is taking over, which is super cool. I'm glad to hear that, Greta. I've been a part of that group for a long time, and it's been, they've made some really, really massive inroads into the housing dilemma in this county. So that's what I got.
Donna, I'm gonna email you, but I'd love a way to work with you and NAMI at NIC with the students here if possible.
That would be amazing. There's a group called NAMI on campus. And at one point before, everything kind of happened, we had actually met with the woman in counseling services, and she was all about like, oh yeah, we'll get you a table in the commons, because I guess the way groups work at NIC, the students have to request it. And then she was going to, and she said that, and I can't remember her name, I think her first name was Deborah. She said that she would be the adult, the staff facilitator for it and everything. So yeah, please, we're dying to get into NIC, especially now. Everyone needs a little bit more help, right? A little bit more support during these times. So Gina, I can throw my email in the chat for you.
That's great. Thank you.
Perfect.
Other shares?
I would like to go. And so I am working on a new recovery support center here in Coeur d'Alene called 208 Recovery North. We are a newly forming nonprofit. And so we are currently looking for space to open. So if anybody knows of anything that might be available, we're working on, funding and all the things that go along with starting a nonprofit. So it's a lot of work. And right now I could use as much support as possible. So I'm going to put my email in the chat. And if anybody has anything that they know of, please reach out to me.
Excellent. Thank you, Des. What else?
I'll go.
Thank you.
Yeah, my name's Carolyn and I am from Absolute Ministries, and what we provide is a transitional housing for men and women who come out of inpatient treatment programs. A lot of them come from prison and they are in inpatient treatment for a long time, and we provide like job placements, transportation. But one thing that we are kind of having a struggle with, or a need right now, is for in Idaho, our men's campus. We are hoping to open a women's campus as well as soon as possible. And but the thing is we're looking for like a resource for funding for people who are coming out of an inpatient treatment program and who need placement and to get into a house. So it helps if we can find like maybe financially a resource that provides that sort of funding is one thing that we are looking for out in Idaho, because we're still building community, we're still building relationships in the community. And so yeah, if anybody has like any information on that, I put my email address and my phone number in the group chat. If you could connect with me, that would be amazing. I would really appreciate it.
Yeah, and I don't know if there's grant funding available for what you're looking for, but I know there's some people in this group that are very in tune with the grant processes, writing grants. So
Okay.
That might be something to explore as well. So
Absolutely.
If anybody has direction or guidance for Carolyn, please reach out to her. Who's next?
I'll
Good
go.
morning. Oh,
Let's
Should
go.
I go?
I think that's Kaylin. Let's go Kaylin, and then I think that was Shelby.
All right.
Kaylin and then Shelby.
So I'm Kaylin with Community Action, and we're still in the depths of energy assistance season. With that really cold snap that we had, we're finding a lot of people coming in this month, surprised at how big their bills are. And so we're kind of getting inundated with that. But another thing that we keep finding is a lot of people's furnaces are going out, and right now we are down to just one vendor up in the Coeur d'Alene Kootenai area to help with installing and doing new furnaces. So if you happen to know of anyone who would like to partner with us, let me know. I'm going to put my email in the chat. I'm not really part of the weatherization department, but I can get that information and kind of be the go-between until I can connect you to our weatherization department, because it's a big issue right now with how cold things were, and it was really putting a strain on a lot of people's furnaces, and now we're dealing with that. So we were able to get a few space heaters that we can lend out to people until their furnaces are fixed. So if you know of anyone who's in need, just let us connect them to us, and we'll see if we can get them. Again, space heaters are a Band-Aid for things, but at least we can do something.
Awesome. Thank you, Kaylin. Shelby, I think you were next.
Yes, good morning, everybody. I am Shelby Walsh with the United Way of North Idaho. I just wanted to shout out our childcare scholarship program. So if you know someone who is struggling with the cost of childcare and needs some assistance, even if they receive ICCP, we are able to give out scholarships monthly to families to help supplement the cost of childcare. So you know that is a huge cost for a lot of families. So I'll drop the link here in the chat for our childcare program. Additionally, we have our early learning collaborative that meets once a month to discuss ways that we can improve childcare equity, access, and quality in the 5 northern counties here. If you're interested in joining our ELC or learning more information, I will drop my email in the chat as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Shelby. We are at 10 o'clock, so if somebody still had something they want to share, send it my way and I'll make sure that we circulate it to this crew. So I would love to end on a high note. Anybody have a short win or a win that they'd like to share with the group? Any win?
I do. I got a girl into treatment the other day that I had been corresponding with her family since like the beginning of summer.
Wow.
And she called out of the blue and was like, I'm ready. And so we got her set up with treatment down south because we don't have any inpatient treatment here in North Idaho. But, you know, she actually left today. So that was a win.
Excellent. Very good.
I have one, if you don't mind, from the Idaho Department of Labor. It looks like we've given away $750,000 for Idaho Launch from our office alone. And it sounds like the governor has proposed another 80 million that might be going to Idaho Launch for 90% of the schooling to be paid for participants that live in Idaho, go to school in Idaho, and work for Idaho employers. So I think it's a win-win for all of us.
That is huge. That is a fantastic share. Excellent. Awesome. Well, again, I appreciate every one of you. Thank you all. Again, my ask for each of you is when the helps bulletin comes out, make sure to circulate that and invite a friend to this group, somebody, you know, from another agency that would be good to join our group. We're 5 northern counties and I think we're heavy on Kootenai. So if you know anybody in the other counties, invite them to our crew. So anyway, have a great week, everybody. Thank you very much. See ya.